Because one of the issues I think that people always come up with is how do I turn an online brochure into a lead generating website? And often that capture of the visitor data is going to assist them in doing that. Morning all, and welcome to today's edition of the Grow Your Professional Services podcast, where I'm delighted to get to the grips with a big topic of digital marketing for professional services firms. And this morning's guest particularly relevant to law firms, where we're have a distinguished guest with a track record better than most, shall we say. We welcome Paul Evans, who's the CEO of Pillar and Scroll and Toro Digital down in Victoria. Paul used to do digital marketing in-house in some of Australia's largest law firms, and then for the last 10 years has been acting as a consultant to some more of Australia's largest law firms. Paul, good morning to you.
Thanks for having me today, Alistair. To be here.
I hope I gave you a decent introduction there, but please add anything nice if wrap. I've missed anything.
No, that all sounds good. Yeah.
So, a bit of a challenge here. It's not something I always get involved in myself. I can do a basic review of a website and give people some guidance on perhaps how to turn a online brochure into a lead generating website. But with your benefit of having you around this morning, I'd love to start by maybe asking, when people land on a website, what are the types of things that convert? What should people be doing and make available on their websites?
Okay. So I think the first thing to really think about is, well, how do people get to your website? Like, what's kind of the main source of traffic? Why are people actually going there? And when we look at analytics of law firms, and we probably have, I reckon, about 100 websites that we could, like, as a sample set there. They all sort of tell the same story, like, where do people come from? And it's largely search. So it'll be something like 80 to 90% of traffic to your website will be search. But it's probably not necessarily what you think. It's not like people searching for a family law firm in Sydney or a commercial law firm in Brisbane or whatever it might be. It's branded searches. So they're looking for the lawyer by name, or they're looking for the law firm by the name. And that'll be the overwhelming majority of the traffic to a website. And it's the good stuff, because if they've got your name, it typically means that they've been referred to the firm. And that's good. That's what you want. Like, referrals are, the best source of work. They've already got sort of the trust built into them because they've come from a referred person that they trust. And so if we think about, like, what are the few things that we need to get right in that sort of moment, I think, and I could talk about this forever, but I think the first thing is positioning. It's like, when they land on the site, they're going to go to one or two pages. They're going to go to the homepage, or they're going to go to your profile page. That's it. Like, by far, they are the most two common scenarios. So when I talk about positioning, what I'm talking about is it needs to very clearly communicate what you do and who you do it for. That's it. And I think if we take that sort of to another step that's beyond digital even, and we think about it like from a referral sense, if people have a really clear understanding of what you do and who you do it for, then you are referable. You're easy to remember. You're easy for people to talk about. And that's what you want. So having that really clear messaging, like, front and center, and it's got to be compelling. It can't be we're a firm that was established in 1947. It just, like, who cares? It's, people are there, they've been given a referral, they have a very specific problem. Answer that, I think, is sort of the first thing. The second thing, again, I can talk about this forever. Maybe we'll talk about this a bit later, Alistair, but I think the second thing is evidence. So actual evidence of what you do and how you can help people. And perhaps we leave that for like a bit later, but I think having that kind of tangible evidence of outcomes that you've achieved for people really resonates. Having a list of technical expertise, It's okay, if your audience are really sort of sophisticated buyers of legal services, that might make sense. But for most people, they don't understand what it is that a lawyer does. So just having examples of the type of work that types of outcomes that you've got for clients, really, really good. People can kind of see themselves in those situations and that'll resonate with them.
I think that we're talking about the referral word in there.
Mm.
We've talked before about who is Deb. Deb is the digitally empowered buyer. So even if your best friend, your partner, your bank manager has recommended a certain lawyer or law firm to you, the first thing you do is going to Google them. And what they see there will give them a first impression that they either believe that this individual or firm is the expert that they've been told they are, or they're not. And like I say, people should just put down, what do you do? Who do you do it for? What's the result of what you do? Which is often missed and swapped out for a history lesson of how long the firm's been around, how many offices it's got, how many staff it's got. And that's not really the differentiator. That's not why someone's going to buy a law firm.
Yeah, that's right. I think, I don't think people go out and seek no one's looking for a different lawyer. Like, that's not necessarily it. But if we take it sort of that step back, different is what gets referred. So that's what people remember. That's what people talk about. And I think then having that difference, like, it does matter from if you have like an industry specialization or a technical specialization, like, how does that help the person make the decision? Like, why does that matter? For us, it's obviously professional service firms. Why does it matter that we focus on professional service firms? It's like the way their clients buy, like, is very different to how they buy something, say, off Amazon. It's how does that industry specialization actually impact the ability to, get a good outcome for them? I think, just circling back to the original question, I think there's a really important third one. And I just did a digital review for a firm yesterday, and this sort of came up actually in the review. And it was, how easy are you to contact? This is like the simplest thing. But so many firms get it wrong. And sometimes the goal is to not be easy to contact. I get that sometimes that is the goal. So if you're really, really high end, or you're really, really busy, or perhaps you're in an area of law where you don't want to give your clients or your prospective clients your, direct contact details, I get that. But a lot of firms, and we had one of these, it was about 5 or so years ago, with a client who, when we had our kickoff call on the website, they said, one thing we really want to do is be accessible to clients. Like, they can always contact a partner, etc. So we then put together the website design, and we put their phone number, their direct line, and their email address on their profile pages. Pretty sort of standard practice. And they all asked for it to be changed to the office line and to remove the email address. And you sort of go, okay. I think, like, that is such an easy thing to do. And I think maybe, so you are going to there's going to be a little bit of spam. There's going to be people that aren't a good fit, but I think that's a cost of doing business. And I think it's much easier to be easy to contact than it is to be harder to contact. I think don't make people that are legitimate prospects jump through hoops to get in touch with you is what I
agree.
Generally would say.
I always say the clue's in the title, professional services. And, there was a thing about the 3 A's, availability, affability, and ability, in that order. And I think when you do exit interviews of disenfranchised clients from law firms and you ask them why they're leaving, usually it's the availability of the person, or couldn't speak to anyone, or didn't return the call. It's basic service fundamentals that are the reason why people leave.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So let's go on to the content that works. If I'm about to have a rebuild of a website, or I'm sat with my partners in a partner meeting, what type of content should we be advocating that partners are preparing? If I'm going to put a content calendar together, what type of things should we be putting on there?
So I think there's kind of a part that I would say, like, if we put the content calendar to one side, it's like, what are the things that you just really should have on your website? Like almost like fundamentals. And I would say, I mentioned it before, like the evidence of your experience. So actually, like what most lawyers do is invisible. Like people can't see it. They just like, they have no idea, like, what does this person do? So I think kind of bringing that to life, and that doesn't need to be case studies or like, they're great. It can be as simple as like bullet points. I've worked on, whether it's an M&A lawyer, worked on these kind of deals. I think a lot of lawyers are worried about client confidentiality, which is fair. But can you anonymize it? Or can you even sort of show that as a collective? Like, we often work with pharmaceutical companies of this size on deals like this or something like that. So I think getting those fundamentals and having a system for actually like updating that fairly regularly, I feel like once every 3 months is about the sweet spot. And I reckon it's a 15-minute exercise. It's like going through just get a report off your practice management system, all the matters you've worked on for the last 3 months, what should be on the website. As I said, it could be as simple as a bullet point. But if we talk about then like that sort of content calendar kind of things, what you're probably talking about is like thought leadership type content. And having that content on the site, obviously really good. It's the way I would think about it is a bit of a less is more approach, is do something substantial. So that sounds counterintuitive to what I just said, but do something substantial that you can then repurpose into like for email marketing, for social media, into other blog posts. And the notion there is lawyers busy, don't have time to be blogging every week or every month or putting up a social media post every week. So it's how do you like create something that's going to be, you do it once and then the marketing function can just repurpose it over and over again. Part of the other thing I think just to consider, like people sometimes say, oh, we do all this content marketing, we don't get any work out of it. And I think the biggest, like, not mistake, but maybe it's like an assumption is that if we put it on the website, people will call us. And it just doesn't really happen like that. Like it can happen and like it does happen in sort of, in my experience, sort of drips and drabs. But where like lawyers will get the biggest bang for buck on that is actually email. So email marketing is by far the most effective way of getting leads, in my opinion. And I think, like, for context, I think of a lead as simply having a conversation with someone. So you've sent them something by email and they simply reply to it. That's like the best lead you can get because they're kind of like, it's a one-to-one kind of communication, which most people want when it comes to like a legal issue. They don't want to comment on a LinkedIn post or anything like that. They don't want to fill out a form on the website. They get an email and they respond to it. And to me, that is like, if you're going to produce content, you're going to make all that time and money investment in content, get it out by email. And that's
I think that's easier probably for business to business law firms where they can send to a specific email address of a prospect. I think that might be more difficult in a business to consumer law firm where you're not quite sure who's going to be benefiting from reading the content.
Yeah, I think for generally like for firms that are working with sort of private clients, tends to be like, if we think about sort of some of the areas like family law, wills and estates, criminal law, personal injury, the focus of content should be on, well, I think in terms of distribution, it should be on referrers. Like that's who you should be emailing. That's who you should be communicating with. But then you also want to have resources on the website that are there for prospective clients to be able to, kind of
Well,
validate
people
what we
often
talked
say
about
to
before.
me, Alistair, you told me to write a blog or an article, and I didn't win any work. And I go, well, did you just put it on the website and let it die on the vine? Because not many people go to a website to read latest
Yeah.
news. You have to
Yeah.
be proactive and put it in places where people can access it.
That's
So,
right. I mean, you will get some search traffic from it. Like that will happen. But that's where you've got to be able to capture their email address, which I think is something you want to talk about a bit later. But yeah, it's
well, why don't we go there now? So one of the things I often get asked is, how do I change from having an online brochure to a lead generating website? And I'll often say, to do that, you have to find a mechanism of capturing visitor data, and that's usually the email address. So you're probably going to have to do a value exchange of offering something of value or interest to the visitor. And that's strong enough for them to go, I want to read that, or I want to learn more. I'm happy to give you the email address. And when you send them something back, it has to be better than something they could have Googled themselves in 10 seconds.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think having, like we call it gated content, so having some content that is behind essentially them giving an email address. It can be a really good way of getting people like on your email list. And this will just vary from practice to practice. So if you've got a high volume practice, setting up something like a automation sort of sequence that sends them, let's say, a link to a PDF or a link to some online training, like a webinar that's been recorded, whatever it might be, that can be pretty effective. Having and working with like some of the commercial firms that have, they don't have a huge volume of clients. They just have really like big clients. I've generally found that hasn't worked as well. Or if they do it, they actually I think this is actually quite a good strategy, is if they do it, they don't automatically send the person the report. There's like actually a validation process in between to make sure, it's not a competitor, because they've invested a lot of time in this intellectual property, where what they'll do is they'll get that lead and then they'll email the report obviously across like manually, but also offer to set up a conversation to go through the report with that lead, which sounds like a lot of work, but we're talking about, a practice, like say a partner might have 10 clients max that they're serving. Having that sort of investing a bit of time in actually running someone through that report, giving them sort of the highlights package, how it would apply to their business and getting to know them a bit more, that works really, really well. It's kind of like, it's not a common thing for digital agencies to sort of recommend. It's, how much can we automate? But we're not trying to get volume for a lot of these clients. It's just really good stuff.
So what metrics do you think we should be measuring? I'm often asked, we're not quite sure what we should measure. We don't know whether to, how do we know we've won? So what type of things would you be telling people to measure and keep on top of?
The big one is revenue and profit. I know that's not what the answer you were looking for. I think you're looking for like a digital metric. I honestly think looking at web traffic,
bad agencies will send people a Google report that just says how many visitors or how many impressions something's had.
Yeah.
And I don't think that necessarily tells the full picture.
No. I think, to be honest, the number one metric from marketing function in a law firm should be conversations. That's it. We can call them leads, but I think it's conversations.
Whether that's online or offline.
Yeah. The source of them, like in many instances, it would be lovely to, I think most marketers want to be able to like kind of work out the attribution of where things have come from. It's far messier than that in professional services. If you think about it, like a partner might go speak at a conference. They might then reference a white paper that they've prepared, they put on their website, and at the conference they've said, go and download this here. That might look like it's come from SEO, for example, but really it's come from the conference. It could have been a conference that the partner spoke at 2 years ago, and it's only become an issue in that place now. I think, to me, and there'll be people that disagree with me, that's fine. I think attribution can be a bit overrated, which is why I go back to revenue and profit. Like, as long as those matter, and is marketing generating conversations? That is it. Is it generating people replying to emails? Again, really, really hard to track.
So
You can't track that in email software.
I keep reading statements like SEO is dead. And I don't know whether it's true or not. So is SEO still relevant, or is it overhyped? Is it as it stays past in an AI world? What's your take?
I think SEO, two types of SEO, I think. You got branded searches and generic searches. So that's what I was talking about earlier. You've got people searching for someone by name, like the lawyer's name or the firm's name. I actually think the SEO that's related to like online reputation management is really important. So when they search the lawyer, can they find the lawyer in the top 10 results? Like, you'd think, like most of the time that's the case. And for more common names, that can be a little bit harder. So
well, I'm thinking there's less Alistair Marshalls than there are Paul Evans. There's more Paul Evans, I would imagine.
I go to the doctor and they'll be like, "Oh, which Paul Evans are you? There's 5 here." It's a very common name. It's a pain like that from an SEO point of view. But there's that sort of online reputation part, which is you got your Google business profile. You got your reviews down the right-hand side. You might have some news articles. LinkedIn, yeah, exactly. The LinkedIn will probably be in the first sort of 2 or 3 results. That kind of SEO absolutely matters. I don't think that's going away. I think when people say it's going away, like because of AI, they're talking about the sort of AI summaries that come up on Google, or you can
Perplexity and things like that.
Yeah. So even just like natively with Google, if you type in a firm name, sometimes you'll get like an AI kind of summary of the firm. It's all very kind of experimental. Even like Google even say that, I think, at the bottom of the results, like this is a beta feature or it's experimental. We'll see where that goes. I mean, I do a lot of searching now through ChatGPT. So you could say that Google's becoming less relevant, but I think it's pulling that information from somewhere, which is probably a search engine. So I think the same sort of principles apply. If we think about generic searches, like people searching for family law in Melbourne, or maybe it's even a little bit more like sort of more specific than that. Like, what would be an example? Like,
personal injury is always a good one.
Yeah, so maybe something like really niche within that though. That can have a place, but I generally think it is an expensive strategy. It's competitive as hell.
That could be something where you've got a well-read article embedded somewhere in the website over time can actually be the entry level into a website. People used to just obsess and think it's all about the homepage. But, I've spoken to people, when you do some analysis of where does the traffic come from, they've actually got a blog page that was written 5 years ago on a popular topic, and that has more website traffic than any other page they have. And does the job that way.
That does happen, yeah. Usually it's for really sort of specific things, I would say. Like they're quite nichey, if that makes sense. And that stuff is good. And you don't really need to invest a lot of time or money in that kind of SEO. Like if your website's set up correctly,
which a lot of them are not. So that's a big topic.
And you got sort of like the basics in place. Page titles, meta descriptions don't necessarily have an impact, but they help for click-throughs, URLs, heading structures. It's getting a bit boring now and technical, but if you have those kind of basics set up, you should rank for sort of more niche topics.
So on some other things or common issues, because I'm conscious of time, I've got a whole list of here of things, no opportunity to capture visitor data is a big one, I think. Poor individual biographies. So I'm kind of the view that stories and numbers sell, but for some reason, lawyers and other professional services think it's all about longevity. And we've been doing this 100 years or 25 years, and I'm not sure that's the case anymore.
I agree with stories and numbers. They do sell. The profile pages are the most important pages on the website. Something that we maybe wrangle with clients over, at times, is they want to make them short, which they can't, I get the logic is we don't want to tell everyone everything we've ever done. I agree with that as well. But I think there's this belief that if you put it on the website, so say your profile's 600 words long, people go, oh, it's too long. Yeah, but then no one's forcing them to read it. If they don't want to read it, they won't read it. It's not like a legal advice letter where you actually have to read the whole thing. People will make that decision. And so for people who are in that kind of process of they've received a referral and now they're validating that referral, they want details. They want information. That's who you're writing for. And I think, to come back to your thing is, numbers and stories do sell, but the more information, testimonials, case studies, anything like that is all good. It's the most important page by far on your website.
So moving
Put in
on
the information.
I'm quite big on trying to encourage people to have video. We've been saying video is the future for 10 years. And they still go to websites that doesn't have any or no links to any. They don't have a YouTube channel. There's nothing on there. And the opportunity now for even testimonials from clients in a video format has been around for years, but I don't see many people utilizing that. Do you think there's a big opportunity still around video, or am I, passé now?
No, definitely not. Video is great. I mean, a lot of people are uncomfortable in front of camera, which I get, but I think suck it up, maybe is the advice there. I think it depends on your practice. I would say with private clients practices, your ability to build rapport, I mean, it goes for both, but your ability to build rapport with people is going to have an impact on whether they choose you or not. Video is a great way of doing that. It's really hard to do that with words, which is a bit more sort of, you can't always get tone. Can't always kind of appreciate the tone in just words. So I think video is really good for, I think, if we think of it on the profile page, having a video of someone talking about what they do. It's pretty powerful.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So I'm conscious of time, as I said. The other thing I just wanted to duck on is how often people need to keep things updated. So I get disappointed when I go to websites and they haven't written an article for a year or the latest blog page. And I think the other thing that people don't understand is that some of the best articles they've ever written might have been 5 years ago. The best article you've never written wasn't last month's blog. So when you're searching for things, you either need to tag them so they're always at the top or front, or feature them or something to make them more relevant. Is that something that you see all the time?
We do. I think, to me, the easiest fix with that is and this sounds like a bit of a hack, and I generally hate hacks, but remove the date from the article. If you can't commit to actually writing regularly, which I do understand, all busy, is at least remove the date from that sort of index page of articles that shows that you haven't updated for something for a year or 2 years or whatever it is. To sort of counteract that, you might actually write the date on within the copy of the article. it sort of like that protects you in case someone comes to the site and it's a really old article. At least you've got it on there that this was written in such and such date, but just don't sort of put it as like on your homepage. I generally agree with like the idea of having, your best articles sort of being featured. Generally with law, it does tend to be topical, the content. Not always, but a lot of the time it is about topical. So we tend to you want to sort of have a bias for recency. But yeah, if you've got something really kind of substantial, like that is a bit more evergreen, you definitely want that. Like you don't want to make it hard for people to find.
So have you seen anything in recent times, new tools, technologies? You just said you don't particularly like quick things or gimmicks, but is there anything that people should be jumping on or something you've seen work for clients in recent times that you would advocate for people from a digital perspective?
Even
if it's AdWords or different things, if I came and said to you, I need to grow my practice, where would you concentrate my resources of time and finance?
I would still focus on, I mentioned it before, having that really substantial piece of content. So whether that's something like a podcast or a video series or like a research paper and you turn it into a white paper, there's almost a bit of having one of those is far better than say 100 blog posts. But the point of it is you can kind of turn it into 100 blog posts and you can repurpose it. Things I've seen work really well for clients would be on-demand webinars. I think like law firms, that's a real opportunity, is making those webinars that you've hosted like in the past, popping them up there, whether you make them gated content or not. I also think things like where it makes sense to is like online assessments. So can people actually like quickly work out if they have a case, or maybe it's like, what would be another example? I'd say probably having a case is the one we see the most, but it might be like a review of a document or something like that. Is there something you can offer that's a bit more interactive, where people can kind of self-assess maybe their issue? We see them work really well, but again, they have to be promoted. If you just sort of create them and add them to the website, usually nothing will happen.
Okay, so would you believe we've been talking away for over half an hour or so now? There's lots of things we talk about. If people wanted to continue the conversation and learn more, what's the best route to find Paul and help, whether you do a review for someone or otherwise? Where should they go?
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Alistair. So our website's www.pillarscroll.com. On there, you can book an appointment with me. We offer like a 30-minute consult. We also, on our website, have a website and digital marketing review that we can do. So you can click there and organise that. And I'm on all the social media channels you'd expect me to be on. But yeah.
So find you on LinkedIn, if nothing else, and visit the website.
Yep,
it shouldn't be rocket science. It shouldn't be that difficult.
No.
Okay, I might try and put a QR code at the bottom of here where you can find me and all my contacts. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Grow Your Professional Services Practice.